Hey everyone, how are you? Welcome to the podcast, Recording Drums with Blair SInta. Today my guest is Beth Goodfellow. Beth is a really awesome drummer here in Los Angeles. She's a really super musical player. She's doing a big variety of gigs. Iron and Wine and Maddie Cunningham are on her list of credits that a lot of people would know. She's also a solo artist. She's writing music, and this podcast kind of centers around what she's doing in her home. She's playing marimba, singing, and looping herself, and it's really cool. So there's going to be a little performance that she sent me right after the introduction here and before the interview, so you can check out what Beth is doing, and then we kind of go in depth of what she's doing. And a lot of the interview, begins with us talking about, her process for this, and then we do get into talking about how she records drums for her projects, like we do here on the podcast. All right, my new course, the Snare Sound Bible, is now available for sale. This course centers around tuning, dampening the bottom heads, picking the right head, and then getting 6 essential snare drum sounds that are going to be super useful either for you trying to find your signature sound and really looking for something that, feels like you, or working in studios and just being able to get any snare sound that may be desired on a recording that you're doing. Okay, so I'm going in depth with snare sounds. I've given individual lessons on this in the past, and I thought it might be an interesting topic just to dive deep into, so that information that I possess is out there in the world. All right, so the Snare Sound Bible available on my website. All right, if you're enjoying the podcast, please rate it. It definitely helps with the podcast. Leave a comment if you want, and definitely share it with friends. Anything through social media is super helpful. Just get the word out that this podcast is happening. All right, without further ado, let's check out Beth's performance. This is just a few minutes, and then we'll get into the interview. All right, take care. Happy holidays, everyone.
And my blood's burning beneath it. line in the sand. How my reins mark it and move it. But you stay to your side like an army in stalemate. It's all in my head, and it's all in the wind. Yeah, you stay to your side like an army in stalemate. It's all in my heart, and it's all in the wind.
For some reason, going out there allows me to just be more, it feels like there's more space mentally and, geographically to just focus on my inner voice. So,
Right.
and LA is just like manic. It's like, okay, now we're going to work and we're going to go and we're going to go. And out there, it's like,
So tell me about your marimba playing. In another lifetime, I played a whole lot of marimba, and
Oh, you did?
oh yeah, that was like I grew up. Well, when I started playing drums, my parents were like, okay, you can play drum set, but you have to learn. Like my parents were musicians. They were like, you have to learn a melodic instrument. So the most obvious thing was I played a lot of classical percussion, orchestras, and I actually was quite good at marimba, and the reason I got a scholarship originally to North Texas was because my marimba playing was good.
No way. Wow. That's incredible.
And I had a pretty
What?
badass marimba, but which I left in Michigan. But like at a certain point, it was like, well, do you want this out in LA? And I was like, I can't, I have no space for it, so.
Yeah. It's like having a whole nother bed.
Yeah.
Like you almost have to have like its own room.
Exactly.
What kind of marimba did you have?
Is yours a Deegan?
Mine is a Deacon. Yes, 19 early teens, 20s, something like that.
It might have been that. I don't remember, but it was a really beautiful instrument, and it was the old school.
Mm.
It didn't have the resonators that went like that. It kind of they went up. You know what I mean? So you know it was old, but it sounded
Mm-hmm.
amazing, and the bars were in great shape, and you know.
Oh yeah,
But
those
you know
old
what?
bars, like
Yeah, if I had to pick up mallets now, it would be a sad scene. So, but you've kept yours up, and you've like made something like cool out of the
oh,
talent, right? I think.
thanks, Blair. Yeah, I think that my approach to marimba playing comes solely from my inability to play like sight read or like play anything that I was supposed to do in college.
Uh-huh.
I had a lot of anxiety around the whole, play this like, yellow after the rain and like memorize it because I can't really read that fast. And I'm like being totally candid, like I didn't play it for many years after school just because it was so. I loved the sound of it so much, but the things that I was supposed to be accomplishing were just overwhelming.
Mhm.
So when I moved to LA, so like one day, like a couple years in, I was like, I'm just gonna check out Craigslist and see.
Mm.
And then boom, like it popped up this, like, I don't know if I can, it's like right here next to me. Let's see.
Okay.
You see it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it just popped up. It was like old Deegan marimba. I went over and I checked it out, and the guy had just had it, tuned and refurbished, and it was like $800, which is
Wow.
unheard of now.
Wow.
Unheard of. This is like 7 years ago now.
Okay.
I'm so glad that I bought it. And then I started using it in just like writing little mallet things for songs I was writing, like little accents. It wasn't like the core of it. But then after I toured with Iron and Wine, I was really feeling like I wanted to start doing more songwriting, like in a sort of folk sensibility again. Like I was just kind of reconnected with poetry and things like that, but I can't play guitar to save my life. So I thought, well, why don't I just try the marimba and see if I can like build a sort of chordal singer-songwriter like bed for some lyrics. And then that's kind of where things started to make more sense.
Okay.
As far as like, I love this instrument, but I don't really know how it works for me. And then I've always loved Steve Reich.
Okay.
Of course.
Yep.
So I started writing these 3-part counterpoints that sort of would just like create this kind of drone that was sort of like tonally like nebulous in the sense that you could kind of imply different chord changes over the top of it with the vocal. Mm-hmm. And then that seemed to really work for me so far. So
are you
and then the pandemic hit. So.
Yeah, are you thinking about that harmonically when you're writing, or is it that's just kind of like how you hear stuff?
The way I think about it when I'm writing is I'm like, if I'm writing just for fun and I'm not pushing myself to think vertically, harmonically, I will start with, I want each line to have its own melodic integrity. So sometimes I'll start with an ostinato up on like the top third of the instrument, or sometimes I'll start with the bass line. But I want each line to feel good on its own and then interweave and work together. And so whatever is happening vertically, I'm kind of waiting for the melodies to lock in a certain spot that's like beautiful to me. Like there'll be, all of a sudden there'll be like, I don't know, the 4 chord. I'm always like super into the 4 chord. If that happens, like, by chance through the melodies interweaving, then I'm like, yes, okay, I can start writing some lyrics and see like what that, it's usually the music first. Sometimes I'll just write a poem and then see if it links up with any other nuggets that I've started. But
okay.
Yeah, it's kind of my approach.
All right. So since we're mainly supposed to be talking about recording, what are you using for
for looping?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm using the Boss RC300 that I just got.
Okay.
So I know everybody uses this pedal.
Okay.
And I've only just started to mess around with it. But I love that it has 3 separate loopers in it, which really, really, I love doing things in groups of three. So like when I'm writing, I'll have 3 lines of counterpoint, and I'll usually have 3 musical sections. And so this pedal allows me to have 3 different like keys going at the same time if I want to.
Okay.
Like I can build a loop on one pedal in like the key of A flat, and then I can go, you know, to the key of C on this pedal if I want to, and I can switch back and forth. And that's how I like to write too. So,
okay. And then
it's really
with the kind of background vocally things on the third loop.
You know, it depends on the arrangement. Sometimes I'll put backing vocals in on the actual, you know, main musical loops. And sometimes I'll build them at the very end so they don't clutter up, you know, the percussive counterpoint. Okay. But yeah, it's just still like a very new endeavor for me. But so far, I'm really enjoying just keeping it simple. Like I've listened to a few of your interviews with other drummers, and I really love the idea of not complicating things too much. Like I'm just going into a 58, like for everything. Like I turn it down towards the keyboard for the mallet stuff, and it just seems to pick it up fine. And then I just sing into it as what's like everything seems to work with that. Those mics are awesome.
It's funny because you sent me that video yesterday of your performance, which I put at the beginning of this, so people will have heard it already.
Oh, great.
And it dawned on me immediately. I was like, wait, you only have a 58. Like, yeah, because I mean, it sounds very well mixed and, you know, balance wise, and you're doing this all in like one take, you know, quote unquote. So, well, a couple questions. Obviously, you work these tunes up, right? So you know, you're spending time so you can like play the songs.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, right. I mean, that's half the key of being able to loop things. Like, you know what you're doing before you start. You're not just, this is not like on a whim, right? Well,
it would be wonderful to be able to do that as well, you know, in a pinch, like, oh shit, I forgot what key the song is in. Can I just make something up? But yes, this one that is at the beginning of this episode, I wrote it last year, and I think I wrote it last November. And so it's a year-old song, and I worked up the arrangement on the looper a couple months ago.
Okay.
So, yes.
Oh, I see. Oh, so you learn where everything goes. Do you write this stuff down, or you just kind of remember?
Yeah. So, like, not to get too far away from the whole recording point of the conversation, but I started writing in Sibelius in like the year 2000.
Okay.
So, do you know that notation program? Like super nerdy. But like at the time I felt ashamed because I was like, oh man, like I should really be learning how to play my instrument, and like I should be in the practice room instead of like at this cafe writing percussion ensemble pieces and Sibelius. But I've learned to accept that that's all I really want to do is like write in Sibelius, and then finally figuring out that like putting 2 and 2 together, like, oh, with this looping pedal I can actually perform. Like I don't need like 3 other players. I can perform it by myself. Even though having the other players is a goal eventually. But
right, have a band.
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing to have like 3 marimbaists and vocalists and like perform some of this stuff someday. I'm sure that will be possible if I live long enough.
You need a U-Haul for that touring outfit. It's pretty
much. Oh my God, tell me about it. I have to take my marimba to a photo shoot today, so it's gonna get torn down. But they're pretty portable. Yeah. Like the marimba ones are like, those things don't go anywhere. But
yeah, but you gotta
older ones.
Watch those bars, right? You gotta wrap them up carefully.
Yes, you have to be very careful.
Yeah. So what is your mixer that you're going through?
Okay, so I just bought I'm just like pushing myself to just get this live thing together. Yep. I bought a Yamaha MG10XU.
Okay. Cool.
So wait, maybe I can show you. It's like right here.
Okay. Here. So it's 4 inputs. Yep.
This guy.
Okay.
So I think it like the 10 means it has 10 channels,
Mhm.
right? Here, let's see. Well,
Oh, it has 10, not 4. I see. Okay. Oh, I see. It's got XLRs, right?
yeah. The four like there's called those. So there's like wait. Okay, there's these one, two, three, four. What are these called? Where you can put a line or an XLR in them?
XLR, yeah. Well, I don't know. Just XLR.
There's like a there's
You,
like a fancy name for it if it has both.
yeah, I should
But
probably.
and then
But yeah, you outed me just now.
no, it's okay. I don't know the name either. And then these are the other 6 channels over here.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
But you're literally using one. Are you going to expand? Are there plans to expand? Or is that...
Expand the use of my channel. Well, I mean, obviously, like I could have just bought in. I could have just bought the 4 input one for like $100 less, but I'm like, maybe someday I'll have 6 friends. Like, yes, for now, I only, well, I was putting my SPD up here to to trigger some samples from the recordings that I've made, like string samples and then some backing vocals. But
okay,
I decided to simplify it back down again and just get really solid on just the main looping part first without cluttering it up yet. So
you know what I find interesting is that so you just said SPD and I thought you were going to say, oh yeah, so I trigger some drum samples there. Not I mean, besides like a shaker or finger snaps or hand claps, are you doing like, drum, quote unquote, drum stuff? You know what I mean?
well,
Fascinating.
why?
Because I mean, I think of you as a drummer. I mean, I know obviously you're a percussionist, but I think of you as a really rad jazz drummer and you know what I mean? Like a super musical drummer. So
That's yeah, I think, thank you. I've been like writing songs since I was 5, and then I like picked up the drumsticks when I was 11, and it just worked. Because like I said before, reading notes for me can be a little challenging for whatever reason. I'm just kind of dyslexic with it, and it never really. I took piano lessons as well. My parents as well were like, got to learn how to read notes, and it just never really like made sense until I started playing the drums, and I could read the heck out of drum charts, like no problem. Like rhythms are no problem, but it's just the notes for some reason. So got on the drum train for a long time. And then actually when I moved to LA, I stopped taking gigs on purpose for, I don't know, a couple years at least until the Iron and Wine thing came along. But I just was playing with We Are the West and writing my own songs because I just got so burned out from drumming up in the Bay Area. It was wonderful. Like absolutely everything about it was wonderful, but I felt like there was something missing, and that was songwriting. So yeah, I mean, this whole thing is just about me trying to figure out what kind of songwriter can I be? And I need to play a chordal instrument to do that alone, to like be a proper singer songwriter. So This is it. This is my solution to that problem.
That's great. So you don't really think, obviously the setup is super limited and throwing that 58 on a drum kit, not to mention more physical objects to deal with, but it seems a little impractical, maybe, at least with this setup right now.
Well, actually, I did a tour, like an indie tour a few years ago with this artist, Alina B, and she let me bring not only my marimba, but I put like a drum kit, at the treble end of the keyboard. So I put the kick drum right under like the upper part of the instrument, and then a snare drum off to the side, off to the right-hand side. So I'm working on an arrangement of a cover of Jane Says that actually has, I like loop. I do like, it's really silly. Like I'm just following my heart. I do like, and then I like double that with the kick and snare, and then I build the marimba thing, and then I start to sing. So yeah, it's definitely going to be part of the vibe.
That's cool.
And it sounds great with the 58.
And you're gonna rock your Stephen Perkins steel drum solo at the end of that.
Oh my God. I've been trying to. There's just something about the guitar and the steel drum that I just can't. The marimba is not the right. It's close. Like you could see how it would be a cool cover, but something about the overtones that happen are just so beautiful. I love that song.
That sounds awesome. That's crazy. I mean, I'm kind of like thinking of like all these ideas, you know, like just even one other mic on a kit on the left that you could mute, obviously, when you're, you know, so you can record drums into the whole thing, and you know.
Oh wait, what just happened?
I don't know. That's cool. Maybe that's me.
There's somebody. Are you ringing?
I'd be leaning on my keyboard. Yeah.
Oh, it was like da 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 da. Yeah. So what, like, how would that, okay. So my problem is the looper. No. Okay. I just have to get to know my gear better.
Okay.
I think the looper only has one mic input and it doesn't. So let's come down here. So do.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I can't see above it just because it looks dark, but above that there's not another channel where the XLR goes in, where the mic goes in.
Okay, right here.
Yeah. Is that another input?
Yeah, so
that's just one.
It's just one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So and then there's an instrument, right, left, there's an aux, and that's it. You know, so you could it's kind of designed for, I feel like it's designed for like guitar players mostly, or like a keyboardist.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a way to route it. Maybe somebody can comment on it, like in the podcast or on YouTube. Like, I wonder if there's a way to route it. Well, you could either split the mic.
Right.
You could have a splitter, so you could run two mics into one box, which would then go into a looper, right?
Oh shit! Excuse my language. Can I go from the mixer to the looper and back?
Well, I think you could do that too. Probably a little more complicated, but bus one to another. Again, I mean, I could figure this out if I could sit down with you and do it, but there's definitely a way to do it, for sure. Yeah.
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 Well, that would be amazing to like have the capability to have a few different microphones going into the looper.
Right.
Eventually, that would be amazing.
Oh
my gosh.
Interesting. Okay, so that's a limitation that is being put on because of the looper, which I didn't really think.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of like early on when I was like trying to figure out. So initially at the beginning of the pandemic, I started looping in Ableton. And that was my first foray into looping. And it kind of like, I had to start and stop the recording process on the looper with either my SPD or like a button on a, what do they call it? The interface
kind of button or something.
Yeah. And it just became apparent that I needed a foot switch. And I know I could probably get a foot switch for Ableton, but like, I didn't also want to have a computer up there and be staring at a computer and like all of that. I just was like, let me get this more analog. Let me get it simpler. So I just bought the looping pedal, like the old school one.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think there's something about the what's the word? Oh my Lord. Just being able to like grab things and not have them on a mouse or whatever. What's the word? What am I?
Tactile.
Tactile. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tactile.
Yeah. No.
The tactile analog thing. Because whenever I, use my pedal board with drums, like I've tried to do the Ableton thing, but like when you have to grab a mouse, it's too intricate for moving your arms around, and to be able to just grab a knob or a pedal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love being able to just step on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm already playing, I can't take time out to like use one of my arms to hit
Yeah.
a trigger. I need to be able to like, I already have the coordination from being a drum set player to just step on it at the right time. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, that's why I settled. But then again, it presents there's only one mic input. So if there is a looping pedal out there that has multiple mic inputs, or there's a way to route it somehow, split it somehow, I'd love to
Right.
have a suggestion. Yeah. Have you ever done any looping with a drum kit or?
I've screwed around with. It's funny. I'm looking around for it. I sold it. I had a boomerang for a minute, but with drum kit, it's hard because you then have to move your foot right from your hi hat, presumably, to that.
Right.
It's tricky.
Right.
And there's a few guys I've always meant to ask how they do it. Mainly I've just done it where I'm just running effects through contact mics and not necessarily looping, just screwing around with sonic things, through pedal boards.
Oh, what do you think? So I was curious if the marimba would be a candidate for contact mics.
You should try it because first of all, they're super cheap. You can get a pack of 10 like crappy pickup mics through Amazon for like $10.
What?
Yeah, and they're all 1/4 inch, so you can send them into your marimba. But yeah, you should try it. I mean, it would definitely be a different sound, but it actually could be. Again, if you wanted to use that sonically, you'd have to figure out how to get that through your looper. But you could mic it as for a separate just sound option. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a recording project or something.
Yeah.
Because I always thought it would be sick to like distort the marimba.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, like put effects pedals and stuff.
Yeah. Well, you could do that with the looper anyway. Just have a pedal. You can run a pedal board out of there. You just got to get your dance at that point.
Get my what?
Get your dance on, your pedal board dance. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Right. Or that.
Right. Stepping on. Pay no attention to the feet behind the curtain.
So when you've made your recordings, are you doing it like this, or are you actually?
No.
It's more like proper recording.
Yeah. I got a couple of the AEA R84s.
Okay.
A couple years ago, those nice ribbon mics, and those sound really great on the marimba because they like the pickup, the frequency response is really nice. Like there's not a lot of harsh highs. It's just real warm. And I also like to use them on the kit. Like, yeah, I was listening to your interview with Brendan Buckley, and you guys were kind of talking about like, yeah, just find the equipment that works for you. And, that's kind of how I feel as well. Like I love those mics. I only have 4 inputs on my interface for drum kit recording, and it's not fancy, but I like how it sounds. It's not going to be everyone's favorite, but
right.
I think it.
So are you doing that in the house?
Sometimes, not so much these days. During the pandemic, I could kind of get away with it. Like I worked it out with my neighbors, like, hey, sorry, like, don't really have anywhere to go that's safe. Can we like trade some hours? And they were cool. Right. But now that I can go back to my rehearsal space, I just do it there.
Oh, okay.
And everyone's a little happier.
Right.
But I'd love to someday have a nice studio like you have.
So that's your thing for recording drums. You got four mics.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're kind of like, is it a thing where you move mics around, or you kind of have one set up and like that's kind of how you do it?
I have one setup. Yeah, I just found something that felt good to me, and I didn't really mess around too much with it, although people have given me some suggestions that I really want to try, like trying a mic over the kick drum, something like, I don't really have anything in that position, but that's such a great spot to pick things up. Yeah, I've just been doing like one overhead and then one mic over the floor tom, like the Glenn Johns thing. And then a kick mic and a top snare mic, just a 57. It's like that's
one of the best sounds you can get for sure.
It's no nonsense. So, and like I know how to kind of get the phase right, and the more mics you add, the more. But
I think
yeah,
the important thing with that is like you're a super balanced player, so that kind of mic setup really works for how you play too.
thanks, Blair. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just try to play dynamically and not, I don't know, like early on, it felt kind of fun to combine samples with a acoustic drum sound. But then, like, a few years ago, I just focused way back more on like Americana, folk, acoustic, jazz, and not so much on pop and rock and that kind of recording. So, yeah.
So what kind of recordings are you being asked to do mainly, drum wise?
Yeah, sure. Well, this weekend I have a session coming up with a singer songwriter, and it's very much like a lot of mallets on the toms, a lot of like ethereal kind of brush work. Definitely groove oriented still. It's not like just painting with random like Jackson Pollock, but it's like mellow, kind of groovy. Yeah, like I'm going to be touring with an artist, Allison Russell. If you haven't heard her record yet, it's incredible. There's two drummers on there at the same time, like playing at the same time. Like at the moment, I'm blanking on drummers' names, but just incredible record. And so recreating that live is going to be, there's some pocket playing, but there's a lot of like, here's some bells and here's some, like lush cymbal and tom tom, like let's make it magical.
Wow.
Type stuff, which I think I didn't really see myself as that kind of player. I had to have people kind of put me in those positions over and over again for me to realize like, oh yeah, this is my strength. I get it. So
meaning what?
Like, I moved to LA and I wanted to play, like you've worked with some of my heroes, like the Wilson Phillips. I swear, like that was the first cassette tape I ever bought was their eponymous record. And I just wanted to play, what are those, like Lindrums? No, who's on that record? Is it
I have no idea.
Oh my God. Oh God, I wish I could just Google it really quick.
You can.
But
you can.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna look real quick. I know it'll pop right up.
Gotta be one of them.
I don't know why I want to say J.R. Robinson, but
I was gonna say it's got to be J.R. or Carlos Vega or one of those '80s.
Oh my God, I love Carlos. He's like another one of my real. I love his playing.
Yeah. He was incredible.
Yeah. Okay, discography. Wilson Phillips. Personnel. Let's see. Michael Landau, Steve Lukather, John Robinson.
Yeah, we didn't even have to look it up.
I knew it was on I just didn't want to be wrong, on the internet. But
don't be wrong on the internet. You will get lambasted.
But yeah, like I just wanted to play like that, like big, gated snare, and just like big. But it's just not. I mean, that's still, that kind of music is still being made, but it's just the industry is so different from what I thought, like what my dream initially was. And like, I don't know, like had to adjust so much. You probably even more so.
I mean, that's a whole crazy conversation. I mean, I feel like from when I moved here in '96, and like, I was like doing 1,000 auditions every year. I mean, and the idea of what the sideman was, let's say in the late '90s and the early 2000s, is totally different from what it is now. People were looking for someone who was going to bring their personality to their project. You were kind of influencing the live show, with how you played and I mean, partly how you looked, but how you played drums. Like when I got when I got hired by Alanis, it was like there was a reason that like I fit it at that time, right? Um, and now I feel like you are, I'm speaking generally, but I feel like more now they need to get, they're hiring people to put them in the box that they want them in. They're not,
Yeah, totally.
obviously you have to be able to, I mean, I'm not trying to insult anybody, right? Because anybody that can tour and play with a major artist is a great player, right? But I just
Yeah,
feel like your personality as a sideman is less important, especially if you go back to the 80s. Like there's a reason Omar Hakim was hired by Sting in 85. It's because Omar had like, Weather Report chops and a great pocket and the David Bowie, and that now I feel like is not valued by business people because they want to put the singer up front and put the singer in the lights. And if you watch the Grammy Awards, where's the band? Like,
yeah,
supporting the artists
totally.
are not there, So here's my rant,
Yeah.
which is like totally not, but fuck, I mean, that bums me out because here, I'll say this too. When I saw Taylor Hawkins play with Alanis on the MTV Music Awards in 95, I think it was, I was like,
Hmm.
who the fuck is that guy? Like, and like that drew me into like what she was doing and like went like, oh, I'll check that record out, And like, but that was like part of the reason it was, that drew me to her was because of the band, and seeing Jesse
Totally.
throwing his guitars around and shit. Like, and now they just want to put people in the back and just, American Idol changed everything. Anyway, I'm probably going to get fucking
Huh.
killed for saying this stuff, but whatever.
No,
How I
no,
feel.
no. I like these conversations because it's just we can just be we're just talking, we're being candid. But yeah, the point about even if it's like a solo artist like Alanis,
Mhm.
like you're watching her band and you're looking at all the different musicians and it's all like creating this experience that makes you want to lean into what she's doing,
Yeah.
even though it's like Alanis Morissette is the bill.
Right.
And then I'm thinking about, well, my favorite band in high school was the Smashing Pumpkins.
Mhm.
And what if Jimmy Chamberlain had been in the dark? I mean, not that it wasn't like the Billy Corgan show, but like imagine if it was and like you didn't ever see Darcy or you didn't ever see James.
Fuck yeah.
And it was just like the singer. Like, no, like we want to see the band. We want to connect with all of those pieces. So yeah. And I was on a tour once where I was like, why can't I like see what I'm doing back here? Like, does it have to be this dark?
Wow. Wow.
And at that point I was like, let me just like go in this other direction because this is weird. Like, I don't want to be in the dark.
So, but I think back to your main point is like, you kind of felt like with who you are, like a kind of quote unquote pop style of drumming was not really who you wanted to become anymore.
No, I'd still love to play that way. It's just that I think I had to have people hire me for these more musically challenging in a different way type jobs over and over again. Like the first one was Iron and Wine, and that was like, oh my gosh, like I'm hardly ever playing a backbeat on the snare, and yet this is the best gig I've ever had. And what's going on? Like, just trying to make sense of it, like feeling like kind of like I was masquerading in a way, like I wasn't like I was working really hard in a different way than I ever expected to, like trying to not play paradiddles, not play flams. I think at one point Sam was like, he's like, didn't want me to use any rudiments, but we didn't talk about it in that sense. It was just like, play only single notes on the drums at a time. And I was like, oh, okay. How do I do this? Like, but yeah, so that was the first time. And then it just kind of from there, it was like, oh, that's what she does. And then I was like, well, wait, no, I do all these other things too. But now I'm like, oh, maybe that's his real strength. And I just didn't realize it at the time. And so,
well, you had,
yeah,
I'm sure you had a different type of musicality pulled out of you, right? Because
mm-hmm.
you have a jazz background and you're, right, that's very rudimental, right? So
yeah,
maybe there was a thing that he was hearing. He was like, I don't really want that in my music, but he also knew that you were musical enough to to guide you in that direction. And then you probably discovered that, like, oh wow, okay, here's a different style of playing fills or texture.
Totally, totally. And like I think like Brian Blade is a big hero and influence on me in terms of like what you can do as a jazz drummer in a more singer-songwriter setting.
Yes.
So I just try to think about that kind of energy. Like it's not so much about like cleanliness and even though like he's super choppy, but there's a certain type of there's waves in his playing. There's like these balls of energy that just kind of keep coming, and I love that way of thinking about it. And
did you ever hear him play with Seal?
No.
Yeah, I heard him play with Seal once. It was live. I don't know how long he did it, but I was at it was really kind of like the first pop gig I had here in LA. I was with this woman named Jennifer Page, and we were in Vegas, and it was like, I can barely remember. It must have been one of those radio performances or whatever, but it was Brian Blade, Tony Levin. I want to say Mike Landau.
Ooh.
But the way Brian approached pop music was I've never heard anything quite like that. He was really with the lyric. He wasn't necessarily hitting downbeats like where you would expect, but it also didn't sound like fusiony. It was just like crazy musical. Like
Totally.
And I was just like, what? Like, yeah. Yeah.
Man, I got to check that out. I got to find that. Hopefully it's on the internet somewhere.
Yeah, I would imagine a deep YouTube dive would yield that reward somewhere. Yeah.
You know who else plays in an unexpected way behind like just songs in general? Like one of my favorite drummers, John Convertino. Do you know him? He's in that band Calexico.
Okay, I know
out of Tucson.
Yeah, I know the band, but I don't know his playing really. Yeah.
So like over the course of the pandemic, I've got to do like backing vocals on some records that he's drumming on, and like every time it's like he'll put these amazing accents like on not on the downbeats. It'll be like right after, but it's not like it's totally always appropriate for the music. You never anyway, I just that's another drummer that I just really kind of try to copy sometimes these days. Like, can I put like a John Convertino right here? Like but yeah.
Have you found yourself, because of, the things that Sam was pulling out of you, have you found yourself playing differently, whether it's live or in recording situations, and thinking like that more? Or is it ingrained in you a bit more, maybe?
Well, I think just naturally, because I had to do I had to like be creative and come up with certain types of beats for Sam. I'll always associate those types of beats with him and his music. Like we did a version of Boy with a Coin where I just played like mostly mallets on tom-toms, and it kind of built over the course of the song. And so now sometimes I'll think, oh, this is a Boy with a Coin type situation. Like maybe that type of beat will work here. Yeah, it's almost like a folk Gene Krupa, like cool. But yeah, definitely still have all of the percussion things that I found at the Goodwills on that tour. Like every town I would be like, what's in this Goodwill? And I amassed this like special bag of percussion stuff that I'll bring out for certain gigs, not every gig, but certain gigs that feel special.
I love that about touring, finding like weird percussion instruments, especially when you go international. That's like,
oh my God.
You're like, oh, what is this wacky thing, that some guy in, wherever built. Yeah.
What's your favorite percussion piece that you found on the road? Do you still have it?
Yeah. In Australia, I found this shaker, but it's like a ball on each end and like a stick in the middle. It's like an African type shaker, but it sounds like it's in stereo. So it's like a maraca. It's like a maraca. It is a maraca, but it's one with two balls on each end.
So you just hold it like this, and then there's two, and then you just go like this?
I'll grab it.
Okay, sweet. Oh, whoa.
right?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's a stereo maraca.
And that's Australian.
Well, I don't know if it is, but that's where I found it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it at like a thrift shop or was it?
I think it was at like some outdoor market thing. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. That's one thing I miss about touring. Not a whole lot about it. I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know record like yeah, hence the whole recording topic. I'm trying to like stay loosely connected to the point here.
It's okay. I mean, we're talking about music, so that's cool. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all good.
Well, I found something at an outdoor market in Belgium. It's like this giant cowbell, like an actual like those there's like those all those little ones.
Mm-hmm.
But then this one's like a big one and it has a ringer in the middle of it, but I usually just put like a bandana around the ringer and just put it up on a trap table and hit it, and it's like kind of clanky. It's just a good sound.
Is it really deep? Sound like a low tone?
Wait, you'll edit this after the fact, right?
Sure.
Can I go get it?
Yeah, of course.
Like I won't just be dead air for a minute. Okay. All right, I'll go get it. One sec.
Cool.
I might not know exactly. Oh, I found it. Okay. It wasn't even in my car. I didn't even have to go that far.
Okay.
Whew. All right, so this is it.
Oh, look at that. It looks like
There's like a little piece of
looks like a Viking helmet.
what? Yeah. But
Oh wow. The compression is killing us right now, but yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I mean it's not we're just not getting the tone of it because of Yeah. Oh, there we go. Nice.
There we go.
Yeah.
See? Everybody wants me to play soft.
Right?
But it does sound better most of the time.
Whatever.
Wait, let me just breathe on it. Yeah, there was like a street market in Belgium and like the sun was going down and there were all these like cool metal things on this blanket and the guy was like wrapping them up. Like, yeah.
Wow.
That bell.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
And there was one pitch or they were just kind of random?
Just one bell. There was just one bell and it was like a bunch of like silverware and like that bell.
Oh.
You know. Yeah. Just weird metal things.
You can call the cat
belt buckle.
Yeah.
Right.
So how often are you recording in your drums, that is in your little setup? Are you doing a decent amount of that or?
Yeah, actually, I am. It's like as soon as I finish one job, I'll get another one. So it's like it's not an overwhelming amount. It's just the perfect amount. I'm really, really thankful that I put some time into learning how to record myself before the pandemic, because I just pivoted like pretty quickly during lockdown to being able to take that kind of work. So
right. And you kept that space in LA and you would just go back and forth to Tucson here, or you weren't in Tucson that long.
Oh yeah. No, I actually spent probably half of my time out there during the pandemic.
Okay. But if you
and then
work, you would come back.
Actually sometimes like there was one, like, remember when things were like really, really bad in like December, January? I was out there for like, and like my landlord decided to renovate our staircase. So it was like, bang, 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 bang. And I was like, hey, can you guys like help me out? I need to like go work somewhere quiet. So we worked out a deal and I went out there and I brought my drum kit and my marimba. And now I have like a Airbnb out there that I always get. I know the owner and
wow,
it's awesome out there.
Cool.
But I shouldn't say that because things are getting crowded out there and like a lot of people from LA going.
Right.
Right. But here's something for the whole recording topic.
Okay.
I was trying to like, a couple times I got an Airbnb in these old Adobes.
Okay.
You know, like the style of building where it's like basically clay from the ground and then they make bricks out of it and dry it in the sun. And then it's like this really old way of building structures.
Mhm.
So I took my marimba and set it up in there, and the reverb and the sound is just
Wow.
gorgeous, really amazing.
So you were practicing a lot in that space, like with that.
I was making YouTube videos, and I started a Patreon.
Ah,
Yeah, so I'd bring like the R84 ribbon mics out there, and Highland Dynamics. Do you know Bryce Gonzalez?
no.
Oh my gosh. He makes these compressors called the BG1 and the BG2.
Okay.
So BG, Bryce Gonzalez, BG. I At the beginning of the pandemic, he lent me a BG2.
Okay.
And so I'd bring that and do my vocals in that.
Okay.
And in your interview with Brendan, I heard you ask him what's one piece of gear that you have.
Right.
Am I jumping the gun?
Oh no, that's awesome. No. And you just reminded me. I was asking people that, and I've totally forgot about it. So thank you.
I love that question.
Yeah.
Because it's absolutely true. Like if Bryce hadn't lent me the BG2 at the beginning of the pandemic, I would not have gotten to know my voice as well as I do now.
Okay.
Because singing into that thing really helped me learn what the capabilities are of compression and a vocal, and what does my voice do with it. So that's one of my favorite pieces of gear that I've ever used. Yeah. BG2.
So, and then do you use it on kit too for your?
Yeah, I like using it on the snare drum, especially for brushes, something like that. It's a compressor that has a lot of personality. Like it's not, it's designed to have these different like personalities in it. And yeah, I really enjoy it on the snare drum.
Highland Dynamics?
Highland Dynamics. Yeah, he's just over in Highland Park.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
I'll have to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Like once you start like you'll see his stuff in probably every studio in LA.
Okay.
It's pretty ubiquitous once you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's awesome. I'm gonna check that out. Maybe I'll have you introduce me to him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He just at ETA, that bar in Highland Park, they launched a record label of recordings that they've been making over the pandemic.
Right.
Of bands that would go in there. I think like Billy Moeller has one.
Yeah, Billy's came out like last week, I think, maybe, or maybe 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the first one on the label. They put out a cassette, and Bryce Gonzalez from Highland Dynamics is doing these live to tape recordings with a mixer that he built that basically has all of his like signature sounds built into it, like the BG, like his compressor sounds and his preamp sounds.
Right.
Pretty freaking incredible. Like if you ever go to one of those shows that's being recorded, like check out what Bryce is doing. He kind of sits at the end of the bar and he's got all the wires running back to him, and he's got it's pretty badass.
I haven't been back to ETA since a while, but yeah, it's always a great spot to go. For a while I was like, where the hell am I going to go out? Oh, I'll just go to ETA.
I know. Yeah. Good beer, good food, good music.
Right. Yeah, Jay's there.
And good recording.
Jay was there like half the nights. Jay Bellerose.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm always just trying to play like Jay.
So many people are, right? Yeah. All right, Beth. Well, thanks.
Oh, Blair, thank you for having me on. It was so fun to talk to you. I hope we talked enough about recording.
This was like super cool because I've been watching your stuff online, but just to now, it's like the fact that you have such a simple setup, but it's really working. It's really cool, and I just think it speaks to your musicality, not only on songwriting, but just like how it sounds so good through just literally a 58. I think it's
Well, for the video that you're going to share or that you shared at the beginning of this episode, it's a blend of also like maybe something about this. I'm doing USB audio out
okay.
of that mixer of the Yamaha MG10
Uh-huh.
into my laptop, but I've only been doing it for a couple days and I can't figure out why the USB audio level is so low. The only way that I got the level where it needs to be is I just gained it up in Logic when I mixed it for that video that I gave you. So curious. I Googled it, didn't really find the answer right away. People were talking about boosting it.
It's just grabbing it in the room, you mean?
Yeah, so
Okay.
previously, before I bought the mixer, I was going into my Apogee Quartet.
Okay.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then into Logic. So so the 58 into the looper, into the Quartet, into the laptop.
Okay.
Totally fine. Signal just, I could adjust the signal out of the looper and get the right proper level easily. So I know that I have a good signal coming out of the looper. Then I'm doing USB audio into my laptop purely for recording purposes.
Okay.
I'm sending audio out on a line out into my speakers for the room sound. But the USB audio signal is too low. And I don't know how to adjust the USB audio level coming out of the mixer. So if anybody knows, it'd be great.
So, and it's not about the input gain coming from the looper?
No, because I know I have a good level. I don't think
right.
I am open to it being that problem, but I know because I had it set perfectly coming out of the Quartet or going into the Quartet initially, that it was a good level, and going into the speakers, it's a good level. So it's only that going into the laptop, I just need to be able to adjust the USB audio level out, and I don't know how to do that on that machine yet.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it seems like there should be a knob, either that and if you crank the input gain on your laptop, it probably sounds gainy.
Oh, I don't know how to do that. The input gain on my actual under audio preferences.
Yeah. Maybe that has something to do with it.
I'll try that. Interesting. Okay. So the video that I gave you is a blend of the USB audio gained up and then also the cell phone audio.
Oh, wow.
So I mix those two together a little bit.
Cool.
Just for giggles.
You got all kinds of crazy shit going on. I love it.
I don't know what I'm doing. I need to hang out with some people in real life and learn a little faster because I'm just kind of trying to figure it all out by myself.
Well, I think that's the whole point, and that's what I find interesting. I feel like I say this every time. Everybody's doing something a little different, but it all seems to work for how they do it. Yeah. So, I mean, that from what you're telling me, I've never heard of people doing things like that. So working for you. So I think that's all that matters. You know what I mean?
Cool.
That's really
yeah. And I just want to have a setup that I know so well that I can troubleshoot it. If anything comes up, I know what the problem is. That's kind of I don't want to be caught with, in a live setting with things breaking and me not knowing what's going on. So.
Right. All right. Are you going to do a gig around town anytime soon?
I'd really love to. I have a show in Tucson in January. That's my first solo show with this material. And I'd really, really love to do a show before that in LA, even if it's just, 15, 20 minutes of stuff. So, I got to try to, things got so busy again, all of a sudden. Yeah. They just got so busy. So, but I actually would love to do something and I'm going to try to, but yeah, the next thing I have is in Tucson, January 18th at the Hotel Congress.
Right. If everybody's from Tucson listening, now they know.
What about tabula rasa? Is that happening or?
Oh, that started again. Yeah, I'm doing every third Sunday. Well, you did one. Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Thank you for.
Yeah. Every third Sunday. Yeah.
Cool.
That's
Cool.
kind of my
Okay.
one consistent thing,
That's a great gig.
Yeah. I like playing in that room. It's cool. And like just playing with Danny and Adam is just fun, you know.
So awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll pop in and listen to you guys and have a glass of wine and
Yeah. Come get a glass of wine. Yeah.
one of these Sundays. Thanks for having me on, Blair.
Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you.
All right. Well, I'll see you soon. I'm for sure around town.
Cool. Okay, so do we just like sign off?
We just sign off.
Say
Yeah.
goodbye.
Let's
Okay.
chop this up so it looks super smooth,
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Good day. See ya.